This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, good morning. Please make the sound. Not audible for me.
Hello everyone, morning and good evening. Please wait a few more minutes to start the demo. We'll be starting by 8 or 8:05 or so. So just please wait for some more time. Thank you.
This conference will
Yes,
now be
start this.
recorded.
Thanks a lot. We'll just wait one more minute and we'll get started. Could everyone please mute? Thank you. All right. Very good morning, everyone, and welcome to the session. So this is a demo on the course for DevOps with Azure. So I'm Kiran, and again, thanks everyone for joining this demo. So first, let me talk about myself. I have about 10 years of experience in DevOps and site reliability engineering. Okay, and I'm passionate about technology and also training and teaching. I love movies and read books now and then. So within the technology, my areas of interest lies in container orchestration, which you're hearing these days about cloud, Kubernetes, stuff like that. And cloud, of course, I worked on both AWS and Azure, a little bit on DigitalOcean as well, and very passionate about automation, automating anything that could be that needs to be done more than once. And I'm a fan of Linux, or FOSS stands for free and open source software. Linux is the best example for that. All right. So that's about me. And before I move on to what is going to be covered in this course, anyone has any questions about me or anything in general? The course duration, the time and all these things will be covered later at the end of the session. But before that, if you have any questions, you can. Yeah, and also feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions and ask them. Okay, you need not hold them till the end. But I may not be able to monitor the chat. If you're putting questions on the chat, I may be able to answer only at the end. All right. So shall we proceed?
Yeah, Karan, you can continue.
Thank you. Okay, so the important thing why you are all here. Okay, so what are we going to learn in this course? What is this course about? Okay, so in a nutshell, this course is about understanding key Azure services, your how do you create virtual networks, virtual machines, and the storage part, the identity and access management, all these key services. Okay, from the Azure perspective, and from a DevOps perspective, you understand software development lifecycle with emphasis on operations. So, what is software development lifecycle, and what are the various stages, and how does DevOps fit in there? And what then next is what DevOps tool set do we learn? What kind of tooling do we apply to bring in the DevOps culture or DevOps processes? Okay. So this course aims to be a gateway to enhance your skill set and give the right boost to your career. So this course is all about giving you that opening that entrance for the wide area of DevOps, and I will lay the path, and it's for you all to explore and grow forward. So before we go, this course is all about Azure with DevOps. So first we need to understand what is Azure. Azure is cloud. So then we need to understand what is cloud. All right. So cloud computing is the on-demand availability of computing resources. What does that mean? Okay. Let's say back in the day when you have to hire a cab, what would you do? You have to call Z cabs and one day in advance and tell them that, okay, I need a cab tomorrow afternoon to go to my railway station or wherever it is. Okay. And he would check his availability and say, oh no, tomorrow 12 o'clock, we don't have any cabs. Then you had to call Sky Cabs. Sky Cab says, okay, there is one available, but it will come at 11 o'clock and drop you by 12 because 12 he has another appointment, something like that. So there is some process where you have to call them and check the availability and wait, so that we were all good because we were planning one day in advance. Now it's all ad hoc, right? Because you open your Uber app and you can book a cab. Similarly, cloud computing is something like that. Earlier, when you have to start an application, when you have to start some website, you have to purchase infrastructure. You have to get those servers and put them in your data warehouse, supply with the power, network connectivity, and all these things. But just like your Uber and Ola, cloud computing is logging into your cloud portal and clicking a few things, and you'll get your virtual machines ready and you can host your application. So on demand availability is whenever you want, you'll get it. Okay. And in simpler terms, I just want to not confuse you. What is cloud? So everyone talks about cloud these days, right? Okay. So at the end of the day, it's nothing but it's a collection of data centers managed by someone else. Okay. So just like I told you, if you buy a car or if you book Zcab or dot cab in the old fashion, when you have to call them one day in advance, or when you book Uber, the end result is you have to sit in a car, right? So similarly, cloud is nothing but there is a collection of data centers. There are servers located somewhere which are not seen directly by you, not managed by you, but the cloud provider could be someone like Amazon Web Services or Azure or Google Cloud Platform. They will manage for you. Okay. I mean, when I say not only you, their entire client base. Users can rent resources on a pay-as-you-use model without the upfront cost. This is a very, very, very important aspect. Okay, so like I told you earlier, when you have to start a website, all right, you need to, let's say you have a very simple idea. You thought, okay, the lockdown started, everybody is staying at home. Let's do some online physiotherapy classes or whatever. Okay, you want to start some blog and share some videos. You want a dedicated website. So back in the day, when you had to do that, you have to either buy a server, okay, put it in your home, get the power connection to it, get the network connection to it. And you cannot always rely on one network connection, right? Because you might have very good connection like 100 mbps connection from act airtel geo, or if you're in the US, AT&T, whatever. They always have some or the other downtime. So in this time, your customers can't wait. So you have to have at least two network providers. So if you're in India, you'll have something like act and let's say Vodafone. um, and also same is the case with power backup. You cannot always rely on your Telangana state electricity board. So you have to have your own inverter or generator or something like that. So all these things you have to buy even before you start the website. You don't even know your website will go and become a big hit, or it just falls flat. But even before you start a website, you have to spend a lot of money. That is what we call as upfront cost, the money you spend even before your project is started. Okay, so cloud takes away that pain. You don't have to pay anything when you want to start something. As I told you, you just log into a cloud portal, register yourself, give some details, and create machines and start using that. And there is no upfront cost, meaning you need not pay anything. You can wait till 1 month and see how is it going. And it's also pay as you use. So let's say after 10 days your friends say that, dude, looks like this is a bad idea. Hardly any people are coming here. Maybe you don't want to use it. So then what you do, earlier you started with 4 virtual machines, 4 servers. Then you say, okay, I still have hopes, let me continue, but on a scaled down manner, meaning I want to use only 2 servers for the next 20 days and see what's happening. So for the first 10 days, you will be billed for 3 servers. And from the 10th day till your 30th day, you will be billed only for those 2 servers you're using. So in this way, you also pay only as much as you use, and you can um, you know decommission or remove your servers anytime, and the billing stops then and there. Okay, there are some services which are billed per second as well in cloud. AWS, for instance, has per second billing. For example, if you use a virtual machine for 1 hour 15 minutes 30 seconds, you will be charged for only that much. Okay, that much precision we have in cloud. Okay, so unlike the earlier model where even without knowing if your if your product becomes a hit or not, you have to spend a lot of money, but cloud takes away that pain. Okay, so what are the types of cloud services? Just a second. Okay, so before we go there, I kind of give this example I'm sure the Ola example has given you some understanding, but I also kind of make this example sometimes. Hope this gives you some more idea about cloud in general. Okay, I will take an example with the what do you call a retail store. Let's say you have a retail store, the real life retail store. You have like textiles. Okay, you have apparel. You have you named it something like SpaceX fashion or something, and you need to have a storage. You need to have a godown. Okay, so you rented 100 square yard um, godown in, let's say, Koti. Oh, 100 square yard is too much, right? 100 square feet. Go down in Koti. Your shop is also in Abbots. Okay, so let's say at any given point in time, the capacity utilization is about 60 square feet only. Okay, so at any given point in time, you cannot store. I mean, you don't have to store clothes for more than 60 square feet. Uh, so this 40 square feet is always empty. Okay, but you did not get any other kind of smaller. There are other godowns, but which are only 50 square feet and 40 square feet. You need not want to. You don't want to take that risk, because when the festive season comes, for example, the Dashera time, your utilization increases to 80 feet. Okay, 60 plus 20 additional, and you still have 20 square feet left. Okay, no matter at any given point in time, you're wasting at least 20 square feet of uh, space, and this is only for 3 months. Let's say in Dashera, in January, and maybe in during Ramzan and Christmas time. So for majority of the month, you're only using 60% of your space, and during the peak season, you're using 80% of the space. Okay, imagine if we are as elastic as this. That means if your godown can change from 60 square feet uh, during the regular season, okay, let's say your godown can scale down, or you know you can start with 60 feet, and till let's say after Jan, your festivals are over. From Feb till March, let's say you have to only pay for 60%, and rest can be rented out to someone. Okay, and let's say again from March, again just in March, you can again increase it to 80%. Okay, and again after Ugadi and everything is over, maybe you can bring back to 60% again, and again in Dashera you can increase it to 80 square feet, and all this time you're paying only for as much as you're using. Okay, how would that be? That would be excellent, right? So you cannot do that in a physical world where the things are really things are real, you can touch and feel them. But virtual machines, the virtual services, you can do that. So what I'm trying to say is, let's say you want to start a website, retail store this time. Okay, retail store, and you need a website. So you need some servers to host your data. Let's say not only servers, folks, you also need hard drives and other stuff as well, just but giving you servers as an example. So let's say you want to start with 2 servers. One server is always too risky, folks. No matter how good that server is, if you have one server, there is always a point of failure. Okay, you start with 2 servers, and your traffic is okay, manageable, and suddenly due to some promotional campaigns your marketing team did, let's say your utilization has increased. So let's say only 5 customers are coming per 10 minutes during normal time, and there is sudden increase in the speed after you use some promo codes. You're promoting your shop through some online shop through some sales campaigns, Facebook campaign and all. Now the load has suddenly doubled up, then you need to increase one more server. Okay, let's say 2 more servers you increase because more people are coming. Now 20 people are coming per 10 minutes. Okay, or 2 people per minute are coming, so you increase it to 4 servers, and it further increases. Okay, it further increases the I mean to say the load further increases. More people are coming to your shop. Now you can increase further. You can increase 2 more resources. If you are to do this in real world, when I say real world, sorry, if you have to buy servers and maintain, it's a very big headache. You know why? Because you have to have a data warehouse center. Let's say we are a very startup. Okay, we are a very small startup. We don't even know how well we click. Okay, so to spend a lot of money on a data warehouse center, real estate is very expensive, and to get the servers loaded in some place and giving the power connection and all this is a lot of money. And if you have to scale, you have to go to your retail store like Dell, or even online, but they will take at least 1 week. In the meanwhile, your sale demand might go, right? So in cloud, you don't have to plan for all that. You can just plan today, and today itself you can increase to 4 resources, or this moment you can increase to 4 to 8. Okay, let's say the demand further increases, and you further increase your virtual machines because more people are coming now. Now 5 users per minute are coming. So you want to increase, I mean, I'm giving random numbers, folks, don't go by that example. Okay, so you'll increase it to 8 servers, but later sometime, people would calm down because 15th of the month your salaries are gone. You don't want to even spend your credit card because the bill is already growing up. So people stop spending more money on this. Then the load comes back to the normal speed. Then what you can do is after 15th, you can take away these you can simply remove these 4 servers and forget about them. Okay, you don't have to maintain anything about these things. You store their data needed in some place, and you can just kill those 4 servers and you can forget about them. And let's say for the first 10 days you're using only 2 servers, you'll be billed only for these 2 servers. And the next two for the next 5 days, 10th day to 15th day, you're using 4 servers, you'll be billed for these 4 servers. And for the rest of the 15 days you'll be charged for 4 servers. So this is very flexible and very elastic, so that you can increase as many resources as you want. You can also decrease as many resources as you want. Okay, and this will give you the complete flexibility on demand. Whenever you want to do, you can do it. Okay, and also the scalability. Look at the scalability, hyper scaling, meaning let's say you have started your business, it's going for 1 year and you making good profits, but let's say some competitor has taken over you. He has become more powerful than you, and you don't know what is the reason for that. Then you want to do some analytics. You want to use some machine learning algorithms and find out what is happening. Okay, so let's say you need a very high speed computer, something like you know uh, something that because ML, machine learning and all these things, they need a very high powerful computer, something that needs 1 terabyte of RAM and 48 cores of CPU. Okay, imagine buying such a machine. You cannot simply get them in the market. They have to be custom made. You have to place the order and the manufacturers will make it, or you have to assemble tens of computers together and make it as one cluster, which is again a long process. But on cloud, you can get this, and imagine you buy this huge machine with this much specification, 1 terabyte of RAM and 48 cores of CPU, and let's say this is used only once in a month to do your analytics. Rest of the month it is lying idle in your data warehouse. I mean, I'm talking about a normal without cloud. Okay, but in cloud you can use this virtual machine only for that 1 hour, and you will be billed only for that 1 hour, and afterwards you can store your data somewhere and forget about this machine, and you get your analytics. You also need not buy such a costly machine. Okay, so it's a massive scale. You can increase up to, I mean, I think you have even higher cores of CPU. You can get up to 128 cores of CPU as well. You have graphical processor user interfaces, all of these things available for you on demand, and always pay as you go. No upfront commitment. You don't have to commit anything ahead of your usage. Okay, so that's about the cloud in general. Any questions?
No, Kiran, I'm good.
Great. Okay, yeah, please feel free to ask any questions. Don't hesitate. There is no simple question or silly question. Every question is important. Right, let's move on. So cloud takes different forms, just like our real world clouds. But yeah, there is some definitive categorization. There are 3 kinds of cloud services. Okay, if you look at cloud services, there are 3 kinds of cloud services. For instance, the Gmail you're using on your laptop or Google Drive you're using is also a cloud service. A virtual machine you rent from Azure or AWS is also a cloud service. Or sometimes you develop a code and you just directly want to upload it to the servers. You don't want to manage the servers, you don't want to deploy them. That is also a cloud service. So precisely these are the three types of services: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. IaaS is infrastructure as a service. Okay, so this is the example we have been talking so far. Like, you don't have to buy any real physical software, physical hardware. Um, the cloud provider will give it to you. Okay, so you don't have to manage everything. You don't have to buy any physical infrastructure. The cloud provider will give you virtual machines or virtual hard disks, and it's up to you what you want to make out of it. Meaning, you can take a virtual machine, install Ubuntu on that, and install a web server, or install a Java application, um, or install a database. It's up to you what you want to do. So in infrastructure as a service, we manage everything from infrastructure and code. When I say infrastructure, not the physical servers, but the virtual machines. So the cloud provider will only give you, okay, Ubuntu virtual machine of this much size, whatever size you want. Size in the sense specifications, GB, RAM and hard drive. RAM and CPU and hard drive. So you have to install the code, you have to install your application, you have to configure everything, you have to do patching. So you have a lot of management, you have total control. You can do whatever you want to do. Let's say you want to run a specific version of Java, you can run specific version of Java. You want to run both Java and web server Apache on the same server, you can do it. Okay, you have control over infra and also the application the positive side of the IaaS is you manage everything, so you are in full control. Whereas the negative side is, hi, why is this not going away? Okay, come on. Okay, the negative side is the high management overhead. So you have to have your cloud engineers to manage your servers. Okay, and do the patches, do the installations, and all these things you have to do. That's the negative. Okay, so next one is platform as a service. Let's say you are a developer, you don't know much about servers, you don't know much about networking and everything, but you are a great developer, you have a nice nifty idea. Okay, let's say you created an application where all your family members can virtually hang out and play games like Ludo, have a call. I mean, everything is integrated. Google Meet is integrated. You can also play Ludo, you can also play Tambola, everything into one single application. See, there is a startup idea for, if you anyone who has money, we can start this business. Okay, so it's a virtual family application which gives people the option to hang out together virtually. Okay, so um, that particular app, you have a brilliant idea, you already did a POC is proof of concept. You tested on your own laptop with your family members, or you tested with a small you asked a friend to deploy on a server and he is able to deploy, and you are able to test it. But you don't want to take the head of managing the servers and the operating system patching and all that stuff. Okay, so you just want to upload this code somewhere and that needs to be taken care. Okay, that is what platform as a service is. Platform as a service is not only the virtual machine, but on top of it, the runtimes is, if you're building an application in Java, your server needs to have Java software running on it. Okay, so this could everyone go on mute, please? I also feel like sipping coffee now, but yeah. All right, so in PaaS, what you do is, you just take the code and give it to the cloud provider. When I say give it, you upload to the cloud provider, and he will take care of the underlying operating system, underlying runtimes and everything, and your application will be available through a website directly. Okay, so you write the code and deploy it onto the cloud service. You don't have to provision virtual machines, you don't have to provision hard drives. You just take the code and put in the cloud provider, and it will become a application. Folks, mute please. Okay, so users manage only the code, the underlying infra is maintained by cloud provider. So you as a developer are only responsible to update your code and make sure it's working properly and just upload in the cloud. Okay. So we have Azure apps, Azure web apps, and AWS has services like Beanstalk, Elastic Beanstalk, where developers can directly, these are called also developer services, because developers need not worry about servers and all these things, right? So they can directly go and upload their code. The third one is software as a service, which is predominantly used these days, where let's say you are a big auditing company. Okay, your primary business is auditing and financial services.
Kiran, just a minute.
Yep.
Kiran?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Have a few for the platform as a service. If a developer upload code for a running application,
Mhm.
so you are saying that you don't need to worry about the servers, how they will take care of all those things. So how about the
Right.
security for this application when if they're not going to configure anything about the server, if they're not going to see about what the server doing anything. So how about they
Uh,
feel like what was the security things for this
right.
application?
Right. Yes, that's a good question. So there are two kinds of security, right? When you talk about cloud, there is security of the cloud and security in the cloud. Okay. So security of the cloud is your physical infrastructure being protected, your network layer is protected, meaning people cannot do attacks under lower layers. I mean, we'll talk about OSI model later, but they cannot do some network layer attacks and all that. Security in the cloud is your responsibility, meaning the end user's responsibility. So your code should not have any leaks that will help developers exploit your application. Okay, exploit your code. And there is strict isolation from one application to another application. So even if your application code is bad and developers are able to, I mean, attackers are able to get into your systems, they cannot attack others machines. That's there. There's also this aspect. There is the security of the cloud is taken care. So in case of PaaS, the underlying operating systems, the underlying network, everything is secured by cloud provider. What you need to do is you have to create your code very well that it cannot be exploited by attackers to send some malicious code or to do some SQL injections and all these things. So that's your responsibility. So security on cloud is always a shared responsibility. Who is that asked this question?
Prashant.
Yeah, Prashant. So security in the cloud is always a shared responsibility. Okay, it's both the cloud provider and also
Okay.
your responsibility. So, for example, if you're using IaaS services, you're also responsible to make sure your servers are patched. Patched in the sense, operating systems time and again issue security patches so that people cannot exploit any faults in your operating system, bugs in your operating system. Similarly, in PaaS, you have to make sure your application is robust, cannot be exploited, and the underlying things are taken care by cloud provider. You don't have to worry about it. Make sense?
Yeah. Got it.
Okay. So now SaaS, this is the most popular one, and we all use it one way or the other way. Okay. Software as a service. As I told you, let's say you're an auditing company and your core business is financial auditing, and financial services, but you have to do some learnings to your team. You have to keep your team updated with the compliance laws, tax laws, and also some internal trainings about diversity and inclusion and all these things, right? But your business is auditing. Why do you want to create a website? So you need to have a learning and management system where people can log in and check some courses and also track their progress and all that stuff. But as I told you, this, you're an auditing company. Why do you want to bother about creating a website which will handle learning and management services? That's not your core business. Then what you can do is you can approach someone like Plural Site or Linux Academy or let's say LinkedIn Learning and say, hey, uh, we are a team of 10,000 members. We want some customized learning modules, and also we want to upload our own courses created by our own teams, but we don't want to maintain anything. You just give us a service, will give us a website to log in. We will just log in, and there will be some admin access where people can upload their own courses, and there will be some courses you can offer us, like LinkedIn Learning has a lot of courses about Java, Docker, everything, right? So you can give those courses. Along with that, give us the option to upload our own courses. Okay, so here in this case, you don't maintain the servers, you don't write the code. Everything is maintained by, let's say, Plural Site. You, all that you need to do is log into it, As a regular, if you're a regular user, you can view all the courses and learn them and track your progress. If you're an admin user, you can give access to others, and also you can upload additional courses. So here you're not bothered about the servers, you're not bothered about the hard drives, you're not bothered about networking, not bothered about even the code also. Everything is controlled by the plural site or Linux Academy or whoever it is. Okay, all that you need to do is log in as admin and give access to whoever wants to learn. Okay, so here just like in developer services, you only about the code. Here you only worry about your business activity. You don't have to focus on anything else. Or for example, payroll sites. Okay, payroll site, let's say you're a ML startup, machine learning startup, you have recently started and your focus is on machine learning modules, and but you need to have a payroll site where you can upload users payroll, PF details, everything's right. But you don't want to take that headache. You don't want to create a new application for your own organization. So you'll approach someone like ZOHO. ZOHO is like very popular SaaS application, right? So ZOHO will give you, you know, the ready-made platform. You just, he will create a tenant or some account for you, where some people will be admins. So you log in as an admin and he'll say, okay, you can add so many users, this is your limit. If you want to increase the limit, let me know. Or he'll say it is per user billing. So if you're adding one user, he will be charged $5 per month, something like that. So all these activities are managed by your Zoho. You don't have to worry about creating your payroll and all this stuff. So you will only focus about your core business activity. You can forget about all these worries. But the flip side or the negative side is no control over infra or code. If you want to make some random changes or something, you want to increase the speed, you cannot do. It's all controlled by the cloud provider or SaaS provider. Okay, so there are a lot of examples. For example, G Suite. We all use Google in a different ways, right? Google Gmail, Google Drive. In fact, this is a Google Sheet. The one I'm showing you right now. Okay, so Google Drive, Evernote, all these things. These are all cloud SaaS providers only. Okay, uh, so even on your mobile phones, these are all SaaS only. These could also take different directions. For example, we are using as end user, this is retail, but there could be corporate as well. For example, there is a company startup of about 200 people. They need a way to manage their emails and their office documents, and all these things. So they don't want to again maintain their own mail servers. Earlier, back in the day, you have to maintain your own mail servers. What you'll do is you'll take a G Suite enterprise edition, or G Suite business edition, where you can give access to others, and you'll get your own domain. For example, my company name is kiranexcel.com. Okay, so I can start I can have emails with employee1 at kiranexcel.com or whatever employee name it is. Okay, I can have my own domain, but everything is hosted by Gmail. Google. Everything is hosted by Google. Google will give you your let you create your own email addresses with your domain name, like your company name. Okay, that's one of the examples. And GitHub is another example. It's also a cloud service. And Microsoft Office 365, that's also a SaaS provider. All these are SaaS applications. Okay, so in our course, folks, we are not developers, so we'll not focus much on PaaS or SaaS. Okay, of course, underlying SaaS applications also, there is again DevOps process, but we are primarily focusing on IaaS, because even SaaS provider needs to have IaaS. Even PaaS provider needs to have IaaS, because it might not be visible for you, but underlying there is infrastructure. Okay, so we'll focus on IaaS in this course. Any questions? Okay, moving on. Okay, now we talked about cloud and the types of cloud services. That what's the next inevitable thing is the talking about Azure. What is Azure? Azure is Microsoft's cloud offering. Okay, it is one of the leading cloud providers, only behind Amazon's AWS in market share and service offerings. So if you talk about Amazon's, if you talk about leading cloud providers today, the primary one is undoubtedly AWS, because it has started much earlier than others. It started in 2006, and it has highest market share, of course, and highest number of services. And then the next one is obviously Azure, Microsoft's Azure, that has the highest market share and also the number of services. Then comes Google Cloud and all these other providers, uh, Google and DigitalOcean and all that stuff. Okay, So Azure's infrastructure is spread across the globe in 54 regions and 140 countries. This has changed. They have increased to 60 regions and about 140 countries. Okay. Azure services span various areas in the sense various fields like virtual machines, storage, machine learning, IoT, big data, and security, and many more. Okay. So like I told you, if you want to do some machine learning algorithms for your retail application to understand what kind of users are using and what time there is a lot of purchase happening and what age group your people are making purchases, these are all analytics, right? If you want to do all those things, you don't have to create your own machine learning modules. There are machine learning modules that are readily available on Azure. You can consume them directly. Okay, even big data and security and many more services. So this is an older picture. Let me open the website and show you. Let me open Azure's infrastructure to understand the spread of your data centers. Global infrastructure. So as I told you, cloud is nothing but a collection of data centers under, on the top of it, it's all about, creating your own infrastructure and, on-demand computing resources and all this, but underlying it, it's all about your data centers, right? So where is that? There's a nice picture. Like this one, but I want to show you the latest one. Yeah, this is the latest one. So if you see, these all blue dots are data centers. The blue dots with white rhombus inside, meaning they have more than one group of data centers in the region. Okay, so one region could be more than one. That's called as availability zone. Availability zone is one or more. Availability zone is a data center which will host a data center complex. There might have multiple data center buildings within the same one. Okay, so if you see, Azure's infrastructure is primarily focused in the US region. Here about what, North America precisely. You have two in Canada and you have a lot in the US. Okay, and then a few and yeah, also very well concentrated in the European region and some in the APAC, Asia Pacific region, and Australia is also a good uh, you know good area of investment for Azure, and they are coming up in, yeah, there are 3 data centers in India as well. There is one in, what is this, this is Indonesia, yes, and very few in Africa and South America, obviously, because they need some more time to adopt. All right, so these are all the various data centers, and those with a rhombus, as I told you, will have more than one or one data center. Okay, that's called as availability zone, and there are some regions which are announced. If you see these things, these are announced regions, meaning they'll come up soon. Okay, and by the way, folks in Hyderabad, you might have heard about AWS coming with some, what is that investment, 27 billion or something, right? Have you heard of that news? AWS is coming, Amazon is coming with the biggest investment in India.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that means they're
Yes,
building one of
yes,
these data. Yeah, that means they're building one of these data centers which will have multiple availability zones. So AWS has a different model. AWS makes sure they have at least 2 data centers in every region, meaning let's say they're announcing a region in Hyderabad. What they do is they create 2 different complexes of these data centers. Maybe one they'll create in Patancheru, just giving an example. Another one they will create it in the other part of the city, like somewhere in Ramoji Film City, so that these two are free from any, these two are isolated from any events. For example, if there is flooding in Ramoji Film City, at least you'll have the Patancheru ready working. Okay, so that's why it's a big investment, because they will start at least 3 different data center complexes in different locations. So in cloud terminology, it is known as availability zone. Okay, what is availability zone? Something like this, a group of data centers. Okay, someone had a
hello,
question. Yeah,
hello, sir. I am Mahesh.
yes,
Sir,
Mahesh, tell me.
which one is better in future, Azure or in AWS? Tell me some example.
So there is no specific way you can say, right? Okay, can you tell me if Pepsi will wipe out cola or cola will wipe out Pepsi? You never know, right? So these are also like this. Each of them have their own advantages. Let's say that the reason Azure is adopting fast is because of the enterprise adoption. For example, a lot of companies already use Microsoft products, right?
Okay.
They already use a lot of Microsoft products like Office 365 or Office or um, even Windows servers, for instance. They have a lot of licensing already. So these people want to continue with Microsoft and extend their what do you call contracts to Azure also. Okay, while AWS has some advantages. As I told you, Azure infrastructure is still catching up. It's not as good as AWS today. Okay. If you look at AWS infrastructure.aws,
So everyone will
uh,
have own, sir,
own
I
advantages.
will.
Yeah. So you cannot say that which one will be, but as I told you, in this strong competition also Azure is doing in the second position, and it has a lot of advantage, as I told you, because I hate it, but a lot of people are strongly tied with Microsoft from years. They have long-term contracts like 10 years, 20 years for Office and Windows servers licensing, and even your laptops, Office laptops also people use Windows, right? They have to buy
Yes.
these subscriptions, so they want to continue with Microsoft only,
Mm.
and they'll continue their partnership with Azure. So yeah, there is a lot of enterprise edition going on, enterprise adoption going on. A lot of people are enterprise customers are moving to Azure, and they're looking for people with Azure skills. So there is a lot of demand because a lot of people already started learning about AWS, and very few people are in the market who know Azure. Okay, so there is definitely a strong demand for Azure and people who know Azure also.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, that's why we started this course like almost 18 months ago to cover both Azure and also DevOps concepts, because simply learning Azure is also not enough. Simply learning DevOps is also not enough. You have to apply that on Azure cloud. Okay, so this is
Okay.
AWS infrastructure. You can take a look at it later. It's a nicely created one. What happened to my? Ah, I cannot send it. Something happened.
Is this
Anyway,
look like airline traffic?
sorry, what is that?
No, AWS looks like the airline traffic.
Yeah,
Aeroplane
yeah,
traffic, like yeah.
yeah. So yeah, this is the website infrastructure.aws. You can take a look at their availability. They have a lot of availability zones as compared to Azure. And personally, if you ask me, AWS is much snappier, much faster than Azure in terms of creating resources and all that. Hey, that's because they've started much earlier than anyone else. Okay, and also they invest a lot of money. But Azure, as I told you, is fastly growing. In terms of growth, Azure is growing fast. In terms of market share, AWS already has captured. It has saturated, meaning a lot of people have already adopted and they continue to use it. For Azure, the new customers who want to go onto cloud, they are exploring Azure more than AWS. And also there are other competitors. Now Alibaba is also spending a lot of money investing. Alibaba cloud is also the Chinese provider, right, Jack Ma, who started Alibaba retail. He's also spending a lot of money on publicity and increasing your Alibaba cloud. Google has its own advantages. It has Google cloud platform. And then you have small providers like DigitalOcean. You have IBM Bluemix, you have Oracle cloud. A
Yes.
lot of these things are there, but the top two will stand today: AWS and Azure, followed by GCP. GCP is Google Cloud Platform. Anyway, yeah,
Okay,
there is no certain
Kiran,
advantage.
one more question. Sorry for interruption. These
No
clouds
worries.
are there, right? There is somewhere asking into the OpenStack. What is that? What is OpenStack cloud or something?
Okay, so OpenStack is is about managing your private cloud. Okay, so let's say you have hundreds. So what is the advantage of these cloud providers is today you can easily create virtual machines by simply some clicks or writing some script also. Okay, uh, but when you're in a private data center, meaning you are a big banking corporation like, let's say, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, okay, or Citibank, you need to manage hundreds. You already have hundreds of servers. You are not on cloud, but these servers are modeled on the old basis. You have to log into a console, create a virtual machine. So a virtual machine provisioning request will take a lot of time. But when you have this OpenShift, what it does is it creates a nice software layer on top of your hardware. Okay, it will easily allow you to provision infrastructure very fastly. Okay, um, that's a private cloud. You could say it's creating a private cloud. It's like you have your own data centers, but you can make it as a cloud for your internal customers. Okay, that is OpenStack.
Yeah, got it. Looks like the private infrastructure managing by customer, but there is a we can
Yeah,
build the VMs like cloud only, but
yeah.
only
So
accessible internal.
yes, yes, yes. So
Okay, thank you.
whoever you wants to give, you can give it to access. For example, let's say in current scenario, even today, a lot of people, if they have to, you are a team responsible for developing some application and maintaining some application. So you want to do some POC. POC is proof of concept. So if you want to do proof of concept, you need to deploy the code somewhere on the servers. You cannot always run on your own laptops. So you make a request to your data server guys or data center guys and tell them, folks, I need 2 servers. This is the capacity, this thing I need. So you send an email to them and they say, okay, we will, they'll send an automated email saying that you have to wait for 24 hours. After 24 hours they might come back with some question. Okay, you're saying this much RAM, but right now this is not available or whatever. Can we go with some lower capacity or something? Okay, this is like back and forth, uh, like z caps and dot caps in the old days. But when you use OpenStack, just like how you are using Azure, your development teams can go into a portal, okay, internal portal maybe, and log in and say, okay, I need 4 GB of RAM, I need 4 cores of CPU, I need 100 GB of disk, I need to be in US region, not in my European region. Select all the things from drop down, click next, and your server is provisioned. So it will enable the uh, easily creation of your resources through APIs and all that stuff. Okay.
A
Yeah,
backend
we still.
automation will run, I think.
Yep. It's like taking away the underlying steps for you. It will hide away the underlying steps, and you are only focusing on what you need.
Yeah, thanks,
Okay. We
Kiran. Thanks
still.
for
Yep.
clarification.
Yeah. You're welcome. So we still have a lot more to cover. So let's moving forward. So that's about the Azure infrastructure. It's a cloud provider. As I told you, what is cloud and what is Azure. And moving forward, there is an important node. I'll come back to this later. I don't want to confuse you right now. So DevOps. So this has been like the keyword everyone is talking about, like, DevOps. What is it? What is it? What is this magical thing? We'll understand. Okay. DevOps, this is the standard Wikipedia definition. DevOps is a set of software development practices that combine software development and IT operations to shorten the system's development lifecycle while delivering features, fixes, and updates frequently in close alignment with business objectives. Okay, so there always has been software development and there always has been IT operations. Okay, so there is one set of team. There is one set of team which writes code. Let me delete everything. Come on, go away, go away, go away. Okay, there is one set of team which writes software on their individual machines, maybe. Okay, and individually machine, and of course this later they store it in a central location like a source code repository, something like GitHub or whatever it is. Okay, so this is the development team and this is the ops team, and you also have your QA team. Okay, but more often than not, QA is considered as an internal part of dev teams, not as part of operations team. Okay, you also have your QA is your testing teams, right? You might have heard about testing. So quality assurance team, that's also typically part of your dev team only. Sometimes it might be part of it might be considered as a different unit, but closely aligned with dev. So you have dev, QA and ops, your source code, and then your ops team is responsible for writing the code, the libraries, the dependencies. Your QA team is responsible to test that. Okay, let's put it outside only. Okay, and then you share this code in your source code repository. Let me take it a different shape just for the heck of it. Okay, so right, so the dev and the ops were always, let's put this in red. In fact, the dev and ops were always in have conflicting interest, meaning the operations folks, what is his biggest fear? Systems going down. He doesn't want the systems to go down at any cost. Okay, because if the systems go down, his boss will call him and ask for what happened, what are you doing, why is it not still up? Okay, and maybe he's on call, meaning he has to wake up in the middle of the night and take care of that issue. A lot of that stuff, right? Dev teams, they have to so for that, what ops team does is he don't want any changes. As the saying, as the joke goes in software, if it is working, don't touch it. Okay, so ops folks want stability, dev folks wants speed. They want to test more features, they want to deploy more features. Okay, they want to impress their bosses with new features and new business alignment. But again, like I told you, the ops folks are interested only in maintaining their servers and keeping their health, monitoring them, not creating issues. And in IT world, lot of issues are caused by new changes, new upgrades, or anything. You might have seen issues in case of iPhone also. A lot of the times people complain that, oh, I made an upgrade and my system is now slower, or my system is not working, my phones are not working. So a lot of changes only always cause some kind, I mean, there might be other issues as well, but changes will always, there is a probability of causing issues. So ops team wants stability, dev team wants velocity, and QA team is sitting there. It's happy whenever dev teams make mistakes because they can point it out. Okay, so there is always this silos in the sense, these people are working in their own isolated space, these people are working in this isolated space. Okay, and as I told you, they have also conflicting interests. Now DevOps is a mindset that aims to bring these three teams together, okay, into a single one unit, and working from, so earlier what used to happen, dev folks might have started working on one application, new application, okay, and they will test their application internally on their laptops and maybe some sandboxes and all that stuff, and later they are ready to deployment. And let's say they're going live in 1 week, so next week is the release. They'll suddenly inform ops team, okay, we have a new application which is built on Golang, so we need 10 servers for dev, sorry, 5 servers for dev, 10 servers for staging, 10 servers for production. Each of these need to have so and so libraries running, this is the operating system and all this. And ops team is in a shock. Within 1 week they have to get everything ready, and also maybe they have not given the dependencies clearly. So before, let's say the release in the next Saturday, and on Wednesday when they install the code on dev, everything breaks. Dev team says, no, it was working on my machine, why is it not working on your server? There's some issue with the server, but somehow the dev might not have specified the right kind of dependencies. Whatever the conflict is, now you're getting late for the release. Ops folks says, no, if this is the issue, we cannot go forward. If you have a lot of issues in this code, I cannot go forward. Dev says, no, it was all working fine on my machine. You have to push it because we have committed this time to the business. So there are conflicting interests here. So this DevOps culture, what it aims to do is bring these uh, three teams, or mostly dev and ops. As I told you, QA is always considered as part of dev only. Okay, bring these two teams together, all right, and bring some cohesion, uh, bring some common interests. And it's not about blaming each other, it's about working together as a team. Okay, and also the ops folks from day zero will know what dev is doing, so they also will test everything in from the initial stages. I mean, they will also help the developers to develop, um, to push their code into the right kind of environments and test it from day zero. So they work hand in hand, and that will increase the velocity of your releases, and also the quality will increase. Okay, DevOps is all about increasing the go to market time. Go to market time is nothing but taking things faster to the market. For instance, today we have, uh, let's take any messaging apps. If you remember, there was this Hangouts, which is now turned into Duo, and also turned out partially into Google Meets. Hangouts is still there. So Google always confuses us with their products. That's a different matter. So Hangouts was Gtalk. Earlier it was called Gtalk, if you all remember, if you're as old as I am. So Gtalk was very popular after Yahoo Messenger was out of the picture because Google was dominating. and it had mobile feature. It has the web feature as well. But one big disadvantage is it cannot handle offline communication, meaning there is no internet, but I want to see messages what my friend sent. I cannot see it. It will say internet, there is no internet connection. But look at WhatsApp. Even if there is no internet connectivity, you can type it and send it. Whenever your phone gets some signal, it can send those messages. Okay, so Hangouts was not like that. So Hangouts went out of competition very soon because WhatsApp was launching new features very soon. Then we had other competitors like WeChat, Hike, and all those things, but these also could not keep up with the competition because they're not deploying features as fast as WhatsApp. Okay, so people who started using WhatsApp as early as 2012 or 2011, when was it started? 2011 or 2012? Whenever it is, you know that it had very simple features. You could only send text messages, and pictures also was added later. There was no calling, there was no video messages, there was no status, there was no swipe to reply. But they incrementally increased all these features and they bet all the competition. Okay, they everyone is Telegram is still doing well because of some of the features, but yeah, WhatsApp has become the predominant leader because their go-to-market speed was so high. They could increase. Go-to-market is not only launching the application but incrementally increasing the what do you call new changes. For example, let's think WhatsApp waited all. Today we have a lot of features, right? You have status, you have video call, WhatsApp call, group calls, voice call, video call, group calls, and also statuses and WhatsApp business. Let's say in 2012 the founders of WhatsApp might have thought, okay, we have only very basic feature, just text messaging. No one will use it. We'll wait till we develop all the features, okay, including voice messages, audio messages, everything. Video statuses and everything. What would have happened? Someone else would have come with very basic features and they would have overtaken the competition. No one would even know what WhatsApp is. So it is about incrementally increasing your features, but the features have to roll out very faster. Okay, so that's where the DevOps practices are very important. They'll help you to not only develop the software faster, but also test them faster and also deploy them faster with least bugs. These days you see most of the prominent apps gets an update every 15 days, fixing some security issues or adding some performance enhancement or whatever it is. You get new updates every now and then, right? So how is it possible? Through this culture of agile and DevOps. Agile and DevOps go in hand, like agile is what I talked about earlier, right? Like the example of WhatsApp launching in 2012 versus 2018. Agile tells you that launch your product faster, even with the very basic features, but keep on offering new features to the customers so that they will stick with you. Okay, so that agile is complemented with DevOps practices. All right. So to understand it, it's a culture that aims to create better coordination between development, QA, and operations. As I told you, it's all about bringing these teams together in close collaboration and working in tandem. And what is the aim of adopting DevOps culture is to build and release software quickly and maintain applications with high availability and resilience. Resilience is the ability to recover from failure. Okay, let's say you're a cricket player and you're running and you fall down. You have to be resilient in the sense you have to get up faster and go after the ball. Okay, so that's what resilience is. And with high availability is you should not see a lot of downtime. Downtime is when the application is not available. Let's say how often WhatsApp is unavailable. Very rarely, right? It still goes down in January of this year and also in May, I guess there was some outage, but those were fixed within few minutes. And what it's not, what DevOps is not actually, it's not a single technology or a tool. It's not like a Java program or a Golang or Selenium, okay, or Python. It's not a single technology or a tool. It's not a single tool as well. Okay, theoretically speaking, DevOps is not a job role. I mean, there are openings called as DevOps engineers, but DevOps is supposed to be a culture. Okay, it's supposed to be a practice that has to be followed by the entire organization, IT organization, and not just one team. But in practice there are roles that are called as DevOps engineers. That's a different matter. Make sense? Any questions about DevOps? So in short, DevOps is nothing but it's people plus processes plus tools. Okay, so you need to have right people with the right mindset and right skills, and you need to have right processes, like the processes I talked about, including the DevOps teams from very first day, including the QA team, and testing your code very often, deploying it very soon. All these things are processes, but you have right people and right processes. But what if you don't have the right tools to do these things, right tools to do the automation stuff? Okay, so it's all about people, processes, and products or tools. Okay, so this is a little, let me show you some picture. So what are the various stages? We have to first understand the development life cycle. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with a lot of theory, but let me give you some simple details. All right. So you have the plan stage. You plan, I mean, when you want to launch a new software product or any product for that, any big thing, also you have something called as SDLC, or systems development life cycle. Even for your outer ring road or your metro railway station or your big shopping mall, everything follows this process: systems development life cycle, not cycle, life cycle. Okay, in software it is particularly called as software development life cycle. So you have your stages like plan and design and build, operate or maintain. Okay, and of course enhance. You further take it to the next level. Okay, so earlier there was this model called as waterfall model, where everything went linearly. Now what happens, you do a lot of iterations. Even after planning, you make changes. Even after building, you start making some changes. Even at the operation, you'll again go back to planning stage, design, and again build. Okay, so from the software side, what is important, you need to have the infrastructure, you need to have the software configuration, meaning once your servers are there, they don't directly run the code. They need to have something called as the Java, sorry, runtime libraries, or all the software. Just installing an operating system doesn't work. It needs to have additional software. For example, if your developers are developing code in Go language, it might need to have some libraries inside your operating system. Or if your developers are building some PHP application, your software along with the operating system needs to have some other features, some other software is running. So you have to configure that software, and then you need to kind of deploying the developers will develop the code, you have to deploy the code, right? So the deployment process, you have to take care of it, and then maintenance, the monitoring side and all that side. Okay, that also you have to make sure. Okay, and maintenance has a lot of other things as well. Okay, so these are some of the primary areas when it comes to the operations side of it. See, DevOps as a culture has to be followed by everyone, but what is a DevOps engineer's role? DevOps engineer's role is about uh, making sure the software development lifecycle is shorter, in the sense from the plan stage to release stage. Okay, build from the plan to the release stage, it has to be faster. It should not take a lot of time. So you have to use a lot of tools that will make these processes easy to build software easily, and to to make updates quickly, to make sure it is available with I mean, there is monitoring. If there is any failure, immediately you need to get an alert and you have to fix that. All these things will be part of your DevOps role. All right, so some of the areas, I created this document some time ago. uh, I mean, it's still in a work in progress. There's a lot to do. I don't know why this is missing some information. Okay, anyway, so you have your infrastructure, you have your build part, you have your organization. Sorry, this is not the picture, folks. Just give me a second. I always do this. If you might be wondering why my system is different than yours, I'm using a Linux operating system. Yeah. Okay, so you have various stages, and each stages you will have one or the other tool. Okay, for example, in design stage you have infrastructure architecture. This will all be taken care by your architect. When the build stage you have your IT infrastructure. So we talk about cloud and we'll talk about Azure. Okay, and just learning about Azure is not enough. You have to automate the creation of resources. So we learn something called as infrastructure as code. In our course, we are going to learn Terraform. Okay, and then the maintain stage, you have to do software continuous integration. Again, we learn Jenkins, which also does continuous integration. We have to do monitoring. We'll learn about Azure Monitor. In terms of software configuration, we'll learn about Ansible. Okay, and you have to put all this in version control. So we'll learn about Git. We'll learn about GitHub. So this is some of the, this is a simple life cycle with lot of integrations, a lot of things coming into always. So continuous integration. So there's a new way of deploying applications which is called as Docker, and you have Kubernetes. Okay, all this, I mean, this is still a work in progress. There are a lot of other elements that can be added, but what all we are covering is in fact there. See, version control and source code repository are there across your life cycle. So you learn Git and you learn about GitHub, you learn about Terraform, you learn about Ansible, we learn about Jenkins. Okay, and Jenkins and again Git and GitHub are closely integrated because they're all about continuous integration and continuous delivery. You'll learn about Azure here. Okay, and also within the cloud there are different services, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. We are learning about IaaS. Okay, within Azure we focus on VMs and hard drives and identity access management, all this stuff. So to put this in another kind of nutshell.
Hello, Kiran Garu.
Yes, please go ahead, madam.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. Hello everyone,
worries.
this is Lakshmi from Career IT. Small info from our end. This batch regular sessions will be starting from next Monday. That is 14th December, Monday IST time. And regular timings would be from 7 to 8 a.m. IST. And for other details, you can reach us on the numbers whatever I have provided in chart. And I'll be sharing all the details in mail. So everyone, please do check your mail for other updates. Thank you. Thank you, Kiran Garu. Please, you can go ahead.
Thanks, Lakshmi. All right. So as you can see, this is another attempt by me. I mean, of course, this diagram is also created by me. This one is also created by me. I want to make hyperlinks to each of these, which will open their respective definitions. But I'm not finding time these days. But I'll just do it and let you know sometime, maybe before our course ends. All right. So you have source code management that runs. So you have your infrastructure. So whatever you build, it has to be built on some servers, right? So you have your infrastructure as the overarching overarching component, and then within that you have, of course, you need to monitor and alert all your resources. You have to monitor, and if there is any failure, you have to create an alerting system. And for infrastructure, you have services like Terraform, which will help you to create infrastructure using some code. This is called as IAC, infrastructure as code. You have Azure Resource Manager templates, which are provided by Azure. So in our course, I mean, these are some of the examples, not that we are going to learn all these things. In our course, we're going to learn about Terraform, and of course, this infrastructure will be on cloud. So we are learning cloud, and we are also learning how to create automation, how to create resources through automation using Terraform. And then how do we configure our servers? How do we install the dependent softwares? So for that, we have tools like Ansible, Chef, and Puppet. So we're going to use Ansible. Then in the build and release stage, so when I say build, we are not going to write code, but we are going to take the code that is built by developers, and we are going to create a deployable artifact. For example, if you have to deploy something on your Android phone, what version should it be there? What should be the file types? It should be an APK file. If you have to install a software on Windows, it should be .exe. Similarly, there will be some extension for some files that needs to be for a Java application. You have WAR files or jar files. So how do we build that? Developers build the code. We have to take that code and compile them. So using these tools, so we're going to learn about Maven a little, but mostly we'll focus on Jenkins for these parts. Okay. Look at this one. This is Azure Devops. I'll come to this part later, but we're going to learn Jenkins in doing CI/CD part, and this is our, and your source code management will be there throughout this life cycle, because you need to store your Terraform in source code as a source code or as code. Okay, so you learn about Git and GitHub, how to use Git, how to use GitHub. And now containers are coming up. So you have virtual machines so far, but containers are the next level of virtualization. Okay, within a single virtual machine you can run small virtual machines called as containers. You might have heard about Docker. Okay, and of course you have infrastructure, you have dependent softwares and everything, but where do you do that? You have to do it on an operating system. So in this case, we'll talk about Linux operating system. Okay, so why Linux? Because Linux is predominantly used in industry for servers. Okay, in fact, as I told you, my laptop is also running Linux operating system. I'm running Ubuntu. Okay, um, so yeah, predominantly um, these are the things we are going to learn in the course in a nutshell. Okay, what is that? You learn Azure first, that's your core infrastructure, and also you learn how to automate Azure with Terraform. Okay, and monitoring, we learn about Azure Monitor. Azure Monitor is a tool provided by Azure to monitor its resources. We learn about that. Okay, so I have a, don't worry, this might be little confusing, but I have a neat tabular format of what is covered in our course. Okay, so we have operating systems, we have within operating systems we are learning GNU and Linux, and cloud, of course, as I told you, Azure. But a small pointer, I also try to give you comparison between Azure and AWS. For example, what is the service name in equivalent service in AWS, and what are the primary differences? I'll touch base on those things as well. And we have infrastructure as code, where we talk about Terraform. Okay, so you shouldn't always go into Azure portal and create everything through UI. That will take a lot of time. You need to automate using code. That's where we use Terraform. And as I told you, you might create hundreds of servers, tens of servers, 20s of servers for your applications. So you cannot log into each of the server and install software. You need to have a centralized configuration management. That's why we use Ansible. Then source code management, you write code for infrastructure, you write your software configuration, your developers write your own code. All of these have to be versioned, meaning every change has to be documented and they have to be stored in a central location. So we learn about Git and GitHub. Okay, and continuous integration and continuous delivery. We'll have uh, we'll talk about Jenkins, how to take the code from source code, build it into build it into a binary and put it in your servers. So we'll talk about Jenkins and containers. Containers and our Kubernetes. Earlier we used to take very basic session. Now we have increased, we have enhanced the Docker part, and Kubernetes also we are giving 101, meaning very high level course, because it's a very advanced topic. It will itself take 1 month if you want to do it a complete course. All right, but I thought after Docker I should also include Kubernetes and give the information about how the containers are deployed and all that stuff. So that's why, as you might have told, you might have been told that this course should have started tomorrow only, or sometime last week only, but because of the Kubernetes edition, and also I have started giving assignments, not assignments, in fact assessments. Folks are supposed to do some assessments within the class times. That's why the course has increased. The course duration has increased a bit, but we'll try to cover within the duration. The last time also we had some holidays and all that stuff. Um, yeah, so container orchestration, we are going to talk about all these things about Kubernetes. What is Kubernetes really means, what is the architecture, what are various objects and all this stuff. And monitoring and alerting, we'll learn about Azure Monitor. How do you monitor your services using Azure? All right, so this is the overall curriculum in a very nutshell. Of course, each of these has a lot of, as you can see, each of these has its own kind of various elements here. All right, for example, Git will require very deep dive, and GitHub will require some deep dive. So is Ansible, everything. All right. So this is the course curriculum, and we will not go in a linear fashion. For example, I cannot complete everything about operating systems and then go on to cloud, and it's not, it will get boring also. We'll cover some concepts, and maybe we'll go to, first we'll start with your Linux operating system, and we'll go with Azure, Terraform, and all these things. Okay. And an important thing is, I did not include this, but the first week will be very important, where we will learn about the IT architecture, the overview, and stuff like that. Okay, how is the application architected from the infrastructure perspective? What is a network? What is a subnet? All these things also will teach, which is also very important. I should have included here, but that's an important part in the first week itself. All right. Yeah. Before, I know you might have a lot of questions by this time, but let me complete some details, and we'll move on to questions. So what should you have to join the course? These are again based out of the questions I received from students. Is there any prerequisite? There are no prerequisites. Okay. Uh, your computer, you just need to have a computer, and of course you need to have administrator rights. The reason being, you will have to install a few softwares. Most of it is done in a cloud only, but you have to install a few softwares to access those resources, and you need to have Azure subscription. So Azure gives you 1 month free subscription, and do not create it right away. I know you might be excited because it gives you for only 1 month. So we have to make the best utilization of it. So first week, as I told you, we'll go mostly into the theoretical sessions about IT architecture, networking, subnets, and all this part, and also a bit of Linux operating system. So in the second week, you can start creating your Azure subscription. The reason being, it's only free for 1 month. And also, since our course is about 2 months, or sometimes about 2 months and a week also, so you also need to have a backup Azure subscription, meaning here's a catch, folks. Here's a very, very important catch. Hello, am I audible? No one is talking, so I'm doubtful.
Yeah,
Yes, you
yeah,
are there.
you're audible.
Thank you. Okay, so you need to have a free tier subscription for 1 month.
Yeah, yes.
And in the second month, you have to also again create a free tier subscription. The catch being, Azure needs a credit card. So you need to have a credit card to sign up. And there is no money charged. Okay, it's free subscription. You will not be charged until you upgrade. You can just, after 1 month. But the thing is, since our course will go about 2 months, you need to have a backup account as well, meaning a secondary account for free subscription. Otherwise, you will be billed. Okay, I mean, you cannot create resources unless you have. So after first month, you might have a credit card, or you can get your friends or whoever's credit card and create an account. Second month, you have to ask your friend or someone to create an account for you and give the credentials, because what's happening sometimes, if you're creating the second free account from same IP addresses, Azure is blocking them. So it's better to ask your friends, your brothers, or whoever it is to create a free subscription. It's just simple. Just log into the website, give some details like your name, number, PAN card, but you can give the dummy PAN card. That's fine. That's my understanding. And then you have to ask for their credit. It has to be a valid credit card, because 2 rupees will be charged and you will get back the 2 rupees. Okay, so that's the thing. You have to make sure you have the subscription, 2 subscriptions at least after 1 month. Okay, 1 month you need one, and second month you need another one. Okay, if that is not possible, you can still use pay as you go model. Pay as you go also, if you use it, you'll at the most be charged for like 1,000 rupees, not more than that, because we'll create resources and destroy them immediately. There will be not much billing. Does someone have a question?
How long is the
Kiran,
free tier subscription for Azure?
As I told you, it's 1 month. So he
1
says
month.
it's for 1 year, but those services are like very basic services which we don't use. The primary services we are using are free for only 1 month.
But
They will,
compared to AWS, I think this one is
yeah,
very less, right?
very, 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 very,
Yeah,
very.
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there are some pros and cons. He gives you about 13,000 credits, I guess, or 10,000 credits, or whatever it is. So you can create any service you want and destroy them within the time, so that they are not charged. In AWS, for example, if you use some services, you will anyway be billed, but it will not be more than 500. Don't worry, folks. It's not, even if you don't have a free subscription after 1 month, it's not going to cost you much. Okay, because you will create resources and delete after your practice. So maybe a bill of 500 or 1,000 you'll incur if you manage them well. But one important thing is not to forget, not to create resources and
Yeah.
forget them. Having
That
said
will
that,
be
I
the
remember,
challenging, because once we start the services, if we forget to do that, then the bill will be huge, right?
Yeah. So that's why we have to use our own tools, like, alerting and monitoring. You can set up alerting. You can set up your own alarms on your phone. Every day, 10 o'clock, put a alarm. Check Azure subscription. Okay. See, as a matter of fact, I have a Visual Studio subscription, which gives me some free subscription. I got it from some friend. Uh, but as a matter of fact, even I forgot to destroy the resources I created yesterday. I have to do it after this class. Anyway, right. So please be prepared for that free tier subscription and credit cards with your friends and family. So yeah, even if you had a fight with your brother, make up for the fight and talk to him, and maybe he'll help you after 1 month. Right. And what are the other services? These are also free. Don't worry. GitHub is for source code management. You can put your source code there. It is free. Docker Hub, again, to push your Docker images, completely free. Just you need to give your email and email only. Okay. These things are, you can create during the course. Don't worry about that. Even if you create today, no harm. And Freenom is again another DNS. DNS is where you can get your own domain name, like krishnakant.tk or whatever, free domain name for 3 months, which you can, if you want to learn about how to host DNS and all that stuff. Okay. What is the software required on your machines? You need to have Git Bash. Git Bash is nothing but a source code versioning tool, and it is also useful in connecting to your Linux virtual machines from your Windows. If you have Mac, you're awesome. That's good. Or a Linux machine, even awesome. Okay. You're the best if you have Linux machine. Even if you don't have, on Windows, you can use Git Bash. Okay. On Windows 10, there is something called as Windows subsystem for Linux, which is almost like a Ubuntu subsystem. I mean, which is like having a Ubuntu or Debian on your local machine. I will tell you about that as well. But Git Bash, and you need to have a code editor to write code like VS Code. Okay. Uh, and from a personal perspective, a lot of people ask me these questions. Do I need to know any coding? Do I need to have programming background? Do I need to have operations background? No, sir, nothing is required. Uh, all that you need to do have is appetite for learning. Is my appetite spelling incorrect? I don't know. Okay. You need to have the right appetite for learning and quality time for practice. It's not participation. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's quality time for practice every day. So after the class, you go about your daily routine work, and forget about practice. No point in joining this course. I'm telling you, simply attending the class is not enough. You have to practice all the things we discuss here. And another important thing, my course is fully hands-on, mostly hands-on, less theory. So I don't have any PowerPoint presentations in our classes. Very few PowerPoint presentations, very few slides. Okay, to the bullet point. Theoretically, I'll talk about theory. I'll talk about theory. I'll show it in front of you. But mostly it's hands-on. We have to type a lot. So be prepared for that. Active participation in the classes. So I want you to be actively participating. If you don't ask me questions, if you don't talk, if you don't make any comments, I might fall asleep and the classes will become boring. All right. So these are the things that are required from a personal standpoint. And again, skills. What kind of skills do I need to already have? That's another question that is often asked. It would be great if you already know Linux or some programming, but if you don't know, no worries, I'm here. Lack of the above is also not a hindrance. Even if you don't have them, that's fine. Okay. So I have one more slide, I guess, and you can, then I'll open up for questions. So learn, implement, excel. So that's how you progress. That's my own mantra. Okay. Learning could be simply like watching my videos or attending my classes or reading something, but unless you implement, you cannot go to the next level, which is to excel in your role. Not Microsoft Excel. Excel means excel as a verb. This course is aimed at both for freshers in the sense you might be an experienced person, but might not be in a technology field, and also to those who are already working in IT in the sense you might be working as a QA engineer, you might be working as a let's say production support engineer, or a project management role, or uh, production level supports, incident management, or whatever it is. Even if you're working in IT and you have some experience, that would be also awesome. And this course also covers a wide variety of processes and technologies. Like I told you already, we'll talk about various stages and the tools we already talked about. Okay, this course aims to equip you with the right amount of theoretical and practical knowledge of DevOps practices and tools. Okay, as I told you, we'll have just the right amount of theory. I'll not bog down you with the full theory, but that doesn't mean I'll not talk about theoretical aspects. Okay, I need to talk about that as well. Okay, while this course offers a lot to learn and upskill, it is your enthusiasm to learn and practice that takes your career to the next level. Okay, so it's all about you. I will open the gateway and you have to explore this big fantasy land of DevOps and IT operations. Right? Open up for questions.
Kiran, I've gone through AWS training. Okay. Will it be any helpful? I mean to say, what is your suggestion if we'll still have to learn Azure? Is it required? Because I've gone through all this Ansible, Terraform, all these things I've gone through.
Okay, so if you already know Ansible, Terraform, okay, if you have already understanding of version control, or
Yeah.
very well about AWS, I would say continue practicing them, continue enhancing your skills,
Okay.
and start applying for jobs. Okay, but what about Linux operating system? What about the Bash scripting? Yeah. Oh, by the way, we'll also talk about Bash scripting, which I did not include.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about Bash scripting. We'll talk about version control. We'll talk about Jenkins. We talk about Docker. Docker is the next level in the industry, Kubernetes. So it's up to you. Sorry, what's your name? I don't
Kishore.
have the visibility. Yeah, Kishore.
Yeah.
Sorry, not it, not thanks yet. Yeah, Kishore. So my point is this: it depends upon your understanding of your current skill set. How do you assess
Okay.
yourself? Yeah, so you covered at least 30% of what is taught in this course. If you know AWS,
Mhm.
you will easily understand what Azure is about, what a virtual machine is, and how do we connect. But as I told you, I go deep dive into Linux operating system, the file processors, all these things, and Docker and Kubernetes and Jenkins. All these things I cover with a strong understanding of version control, which is Git. So I will leave it up to you. Okay, you might want to continue your journey by self study, or you might want to join this class. I'll leave it up to you.
No. Is because I've gone through this one Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, everything I've gone through, Nagios, all the stuff. Okay.
When you say gone through,
My concern is actually my company is going to start using the Azure cloud. Okay. How was the market outside with respect to AWS and Azure?
see, that's what I told you, right? AWS has matured in the sense it has some kind of saturation. A lot of companies, startups, and individual users are also using, and it is saturated there. Whereas when it comes to Azure, its growth is increasing now. A lot of people are adopting. So earlier, when you want to think about cloud, it was AWS obvious choice. Now people are making choices about AWS and also Azure. So Azure is growing faster, and there are less people in market who knows Azure. Okay, a lot of people already got trained on AWS. So there is, yes, definitely a lot of job requirements for Azure in particular. Okay, of course Azure itself will not do. You need to have this whole gamut of DevOps tools that we talked about. Okay, so it's up to you, so which way you want to proceed.
Yeah, thank you.
And again, let me ask you this question again. When you say you've gone through Jenkins, you've gone through Docker, you've gone through Kubernetes, meaning have you at least once created a Kubernetes cluster?
Yes, I have created it, Kiran. Yeah.
Okay, you know how to write Docker files and all that?
Yeah, Docker files and all, correct. Yeah.
Okay, so I would say, I would be very honest, you continue your learning journey.
Mhm.
Self-study could be, maybe I can give you my email address, and you could also send me any questions you might have. But yeah, if you already have done hands-on, this course would be a lot of repetition. I would not
Yeah.
personally recommend that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, for others, here's again, I'm putting the curriculum. I'll go through this too, if you want to. Yeah.
Kiran, I have one question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
does it foresee looking for the optimization also? Azure optimization? Or,
Sorry, could you optimization, right? So
yeah, cost optimization.
yeah, so definitely we'll talk about those aspects when learning Azure, right? When we talk about the load balancing, when we talk about scaling, uh, when we talk about the general infrastructure also, we talk about how we can optimize and all that stuff, but not at an architectural level. As I told you, this is aimed for beginners. So we will not talk about making decisions whether you have to use Azure App Services or Azure VMs. Okay, those kind of architectural decisions we don't talk, but within the VMs, how you can optimize the cost, how you can do the capacity planning. Yeah, we'll talk a bit.
And Kiran,
Hmm.
small question.
Yeah.
Prashant here.
Yep.
So, currently I'm working in Infosys.
Hmm.
When I check Lex, which is our internal portal for learning path, I
Hmm.
can see some, when we are into the Azure thing, so we need to put some group policies for the group policies for things going on in Azure.
Yeah.
So in that case, so they're using scripts like JavaScript, maintaining JSON.
Mm. Yeah.
So how much we need to get into hands-on for the scripts, all those because scripts are all this related to development. So I'm not that much, interested in development or scripts, all those things. So is it that much important to get into improve profession for the Azure scripts?
Prashant, see, everything is going to be um, automated. Okay, so when you talk about automation, um there will be some sort of coding that will come into picture. Okay, you call that scripts, you call that whatever. There would definitely be some amount of scripting that needs to be done. Otherwise, automation will not become so easy through UI only. Okay, so you definitely need to get a lot of type. Do you develop from the scratch? No. So there is a difference, right? You're going to use what is already there. Uh, the syntax is already there. The format is already there. You just need to customize to your own needs. So here in this case, we learn Terraform. For instance, Terraform is its own language. When we learn Ansible, we have YAML has its own language. We learn shell scripting. So when you learn one shell scripting, for example, one language like shell scripting or even Python, you understand how to apply variables, how to substitute variables. Okay, what is an environment variable, uh, or how to do a simple looping, how to do if conditions, else conditions. These implementation might vary across, let's say, JSON, or not JSON. JSON is not a coding language. These implementations might vary across languages, but you understand their implementation, right? So yeah, if you want to get into the DevOps or SRE positions, you must have the what do you call, the coding. You cannot escape it in IT industry. If you want to sustain in the technology, the technical area and not the managerial area, maybe you never know, even the managers also will need to understand the coding concepts and these things. Yeah, yeah, we'll do a lot of typing rather than moving your mouse in this course. Yes, but it's not development. It's not like you'll create everything from scratch. You're going to use existing templates, you're going to modify them.
Okay, got it.
Kiran Bharat here.
Yes, Bharat.
Yeah, Kiran, instead of Jenkins,
Mhm.
is there any way we are using CI/CD using Azure?
See, that's a good question. See, Azure is the cloud platform, right? Where you can create your virtual
Yep.
machines. So if you want to use CI/CD with Jenkins or GitLab CI or Azure DevOps, Azure DevOps is another tool, not part of Azure Cloud. Okay, Azure DevOps is a CI/CD tool which also has the source code repository and everything included into it. Or you could use GitHub Actions. There are a lot of options to do that. Okay, but I have taken Jenkins because this has been predominantly used strongly in the industry. Okay, and it's free and open. It's open source. Okay, and
Yeah.
you also get to understand the concepts of installing, configuring, and understand various plugins concept through Jenkins. If you're using Azure DevOps, for example, okay, which was called as Visual Studio Team Services, uh, Azure DevOps
Yeah.
is much easier. You don't have to, it's a SaaS application. You don't have to configure, you don't have to do anything. That's why I've taken Jenkins, so that you understand how the backend also works.
Yeah, that's true, Kiran. But it is good
Mm.
to learn along with Jenkins, along with Azure DevOps concepts like
Yeah,
CI/CD. Azure itself providing CI/CD concept, right?
right. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. See, as I told you, DevOps is both wide and deep. Okay, so if we want to cover a lot of concepts, so someone might also say Ansible is good, but Chef is also good, right? Why don't you teach Chef? So again, that becomes a longer process. So I need to teach you the CI/CD concepts and how it is implemented. So that's why I've taken Jenkins. Okay, so maybe when we come to CI/CD part during our class, and most of you people feel that we have to go with Azure DevOps, we can go with Azure DevOps. No worry about it. But I can teach only one tool, because because you have to understand about the time constraint, right? As it is, we are covering a lot of concepts. So if you have to cover all these things, you have to choose one topic for one concept. You know, otherwise it will become uh, it will become wide, but you cannot go into depth. I just can give you introduction about Jenkins. I can give you introduction about Azure DevOps, but I cannot teach both. Okay, but if you understand
Because
the
of time
concept,
constraint, right?
obviously, yeah, we have
Okay.
to cover a
But
wide
if
various. Mhm.
but if we are touching Azure, then
Mm.
it is good to learn Azure DevOps also.
Not necessarily, not
Why?
necessarily,
Because we are
because see, these both come
yeah,
with different subscriptions. Prashant, this is Prashant, right? Who's
Bharat.
this? Yeah, sorry, Bharat. Yeah, Bharat. These
Y-
two come with different subscriptions. Azure DevOps and Azure don't have the same subscription. They fall under two different categories. Of course, Azure DevOps also has a free version. You can use it for free and you can develop it. But it's not necessary that people using Azure will use Azure DevOps only. They might use GitLabs. Okay, they might use Bitbucket and something else. So it's not necessary that people using Azure Cloud will use Azure DevOps only. There are a lot of people who use Azure and also use Jenkins. All right. So these two are two separate products, folks. Azure and Azure DevOps. So I know customers, a lot of
yeah,
customers who are on Azure or AWS, but they use GitLab because GitLab is much more advanced. Okay. Um, there are people who use Jenkins, even
yeah,
though they are on AWS. Or AWS has its own commit, own CI/CD tools, like they have their code commit, code deploy. They have 4 or 5 products just for CI/CD. So a lot of people are not using that. They are instead using Jenkins. Okay.
yeah, yeah, Kiran. Yeah, it depends on client
Yeah.
what tools they are using. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. But as I told you, I want you to not only understand uh, how CI/CD works from the UI layer. I also want to understand what happens in the backend server, on the build server. Okay, that's the reason I have chosen Jenkins.
yeah. But only what I am thinking, if we took
Hmm.
the Azure, suppose
Hmm.
suppose client going with the Microsoft product Azure, okay,
Hmm.
they have even CI/CD concept in Azure DevOps itself. Why they should go
Hmm.
for Jenkins and third-party tool? They have already CI/CD process available in Azure itself. They will go with that Azure only.
No, 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 no.
Then they can go in
CI/CD.
and implement.
No, Bharat.
Yeah,
Azure DevOps is not part of Azure. Azure DevOps has a separate website for it. Let me show it to you right away. Okay. So where is this? Azure and Azure DevOps are not same products. Again, I'm repeating. Uh, and Azure DevOps is not part of Azure portal. So this is Azure Cloud. Okay. You don't find. You can search for any service here. You'll not find. You have Azure DevOps organizations. I don't know what this is even, but this is not your. Uh, yeah, this is taking to a different site altogether. Look at this one. You have to again go into Azure DevOps, which is a separate site, and you have separate subscription for it, meaning you have to pay additional money for your Azure DevOps. It's not part of your Azure subscription. These two are separate products. So, to give you a small idea, the Azure cloud starts with portal.azure.com. This one starts with
Yeah,
dev.azure.com. Both are different subscriptions.
dev.azure.com.
Yeah, the billing is also different. You cannot club. I mean, you may club, but these two have different billing cycles also. They are not the same. Here also, here you don't have per user billing. You can add as many users, but it's only based on the resource consumption you will have. But Azure DevOps billing is different. It is per user billing. So in Jenkins, if you're using your own Jenkins, there is no per user billing or something like that. Okay, so both are different. Both are completely different. So let's say
Yeah,
you're an organization already using on-premise and you have your resources already on GitHub. Okay, you have GitHub Enterprise Edition, and you are moving to some of your workloads to Azure. So why Azure DevOps people take it? Because if they're just adopting, if they're just if they don't have their or they're coming from VSTS. VSTS was the earlier version of Azure DevOps, or TFS, Team Foundation Services. They might continue on Azure DevOps. Um, it's not necessary that they will do Azure DevOps only, but don't worry, I will give you an introduction to Azure DevOps as well in the course. Just because you asked, okay.
yeah,
And if you learn one CI/CD pipeline, it's not much difficult to understand the other ones.
yeah. It's not difficult, Kiran. But if we consider, if we go for Azure DevOps, there are different tasks involved, and we can suppose different builds tools involved, right? Like Ant,
Same,
Maven,
same
npm.
with the
Yeah,
yes, exactly. The same things are available in Jenkins also.
Jenkins also. But
Yes.
coming to the DevOps level, if we see Azure DevOps level,
Mm,
how can we build a continuous integration and continuous delivery task to the Java project? Suppose if we took in industry as a DevOps engineer, if you consider I am
mm,
as a DevOps engineer
mm,
in IT industry, today requirement will come to the Java project, and
mm,
tomorrow requirement will come to the MuleSoft project,
mm.
and after tomorrow requirement will be .NET.
Right,
So as a DevOps engineer, I should know what are the suitable tasks for the particular project for
right. Yeah,
continuous integration and continuous deployment.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
the
That.
worry most of the DevOps engineers facing,
Mm. So
as
why
per
why do
my
you think
understanding.
why do you think we can't do with that the same thing with Jenkins
We
or
can do, we
GitLab
can do
CI?
with the Jenkins as well. Yeah, we
Right.
can
Yeah,
do.
that's why we're. Yeah.
Okay, we can touch both the concepts going forward. Kiran, we'll see.
Yeah. See, I will not. I mean, it's not part of my curriculum uh, because I told you I want people to understand how to create their own build server as well. That's why it's not part of my curriculum. Okay. Azure DevOps is a SaaS product. It's not part of Azure. And again, even if it's part of Azure, I'm not covering all the services in Azure anyway because that will take year long. The point is here simple. The CI/CD concepts are same whether you apply from Jenkins or from Azure DevOps. Okay, so
Yeah,
yeah, it's from what I understand, from what I interact with my friends, Jenkins is predominantly used even today. Yeah, there is this diversity coming into it. More people are moving towards, let's say, GoCD or Travis CI. So there are a lot of service. You might ask me about Azure DevOps. Someone may say that I need GitLab. Okay. Someone might ask Travis CI. Someone might ask me what is that TeamCity. So there's endless list. Okay. So,
yeah,
but we have to fix on one thing. We have to fix on one thing which is more popular and also which will give us the underlying understanding. Like I told you, I can talk about GitHub Actions as well. GitHub Actions is also a CI/CD tool, but that again is a SaaS product. You don't know what's happening underneath. Okay, that's the point. Yeah, we'll not waste much time on this, but we'll discuss later. I'll wait for others' questions. Thanks, Bharat.
Kiran, one question, last question from my end.
Sure, go ahead. Go
Sorry
ahead.
to
Go ahead.
ask enough
No,
of
no, no.
questions.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Kiran, this Bitbucket itself providing pipeline concept, right? Nowadays, I saw that,
Bitbucket?
but
Yeah, maybe,
Bitbucket.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe there is
Yeah.
one. I haven't
Before
tried
we
that one.
used to integrate with Jenkins, but nowadays Bitbucket itself having pipeline concept.
Right?
That's true, right?
Not sure. I haven't worked on Bitbucket. I need to take a look at it.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe it has. Like,
yeah, yeah. Kiran.
others. Any questions? please feel free to ask. Yeah, they have their pipelines, Bharat, Bitbucket pipelines.
Yeah. So recently they introduced,
Yes, yes,
like not more than 1 year.
right.
But frankly, I'm saying I'm not DevOps engineer in IT industry as of now.
Yeah,
I'm just learning this part. Yeah.
cool. So again, anyone willing to join the course, please hold on. I mean, I know we're supposed to start sometime last week, or at least this Monday, coming Monday. But as I told you, we have enhanced then the Kubernetes and some additional Docker concepts as well. That's why it's taking some time. Earlier, we used to just teach about basic Docker installation and running Docker containers. Now we are talking about Docker files and all that stuff as well. All right, if you do not have any questions, we can wind up now and see you all on 14th with new enthusiasm and new energy.
Hi, Kiran. My name is Satish.
Hey, Satish.
Yeah. Is any coding is needed for this? I have not. I have on the MBA in that. I'm not much on the coding side. Is coding is needed?
See, we will do a lot of coding, but that doesn't mean
Okay.
you should already know coding. Okay, we'll talk about shell scripting in our course. Okay, so you'll
Okay.
understand how to write basic shell scripts using Linux, and also I will also touch base on how you can do the same thing in PowerShell. Maybe, I mean, I'm not going to touch anything that has to do with Windows. We'll fully focus on Linux only.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely I will touch upon how you can do the same thing in PowerShell as well. I mean, just give you some idea. Um, and you will learn shell scripting, and when you learn shell scripting, you can apply the same principles anywhere else as well. And we'll do, like, Terraform is all about writing code. Ansible is about writing playbooks, which is again code. Jenkins
Okay.
file, there is some code. Docker file, there is some code. Yeah, there is some code, but you don't have to worry. We are not creating anything new. We are just using the existing templates.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Kiran, the course is refers to which certification in Azure?
See, DevOps again, like I told you, is both wide and deep. So there is no one specific certifications. There are at least 10 certifications you could talk about just from this course, like Ansible certification, Azure fundamental certification. You can talk about Docker certification. You can talk about what is that? Linux System Administrator Basic Certification. So this doesn't cover any particular certification, but if you think you need to do a certification or your certification will add some value, then you can concentrate on Azure Fundamentals. I think it's AZ 900. You can concentrate on that course, that certification after this course. But of course, you will have to do some additional work also, because we are going to cover some subset of services within Azure. And if you want to do something like a Docker certification, you can go for that. Okay, or a Terraform certification, you can go for that. There are a lot of options, um, because this course is not just Azure, folks. This is DevOps on Azure, right? So we are primarily focusing on DevOps technologies with Azure as our backbone, Azure as our platform. So we'll learn a lot about Azure, and we'll deploy all these stuff on Azure, but we are not covering a whole lot of Azure services. I mean, not the entire Azure services also. So you can cover for basic kind of
Yeah. So why I'm asking, but actually we are looking for the Azure 400. It's like a Microsoft Azure DevOps solution exam or something.
Yes, so that covers a whole lot of not sure if it covers a whole lot of what do you call uh,
Content.
no whole lot of Azure DevOps concepts. Uh, so that might not be very much covered in this concept in this class, obviously. Okay, where are these certifications? Mhm. Let me check. I prepared a small document for certifications. I think it covers a lot of Azure DevOps concepts in that. Yeah, but yeah, may not be pretty much suitable for that certification. Mm, Anyway, let me see here. AC4.
Kiran,
But you
Agent
understand?
for Azure portal along with Azure DevOps, I guess.
Yeah, let me check that. So yeah, but as I told you, we'll cover a whole lot of topics like version controlling, all these things. Let me see. So the content update and now please develop an instrumentation strategy, develop a site reliability strategy, develop a security and compliance plan, manage source control. Yeah, manage source control, for instance, we'll cover completely in our course. Communication and collaboration, these are theoretical, folks. How do you communicate? How do you inform about change management and all that? Okay. And here we in our course we're talking Jenkins, but this 25% will again about Azure DevOps. And again, this is also part of Azure DevOps. This 25 to 40% here is gone with Azure DevOps only, which we are not talking in our course. But yeah, these we understand how to develop a site reliability strategy by ensuring high availability and all these things we cover here. Okay. Instrumentation strategy, I'm not sure what exactly it covers. Maybe it's about IAC and all that stuff. I,
Does it cover Azure 104 no? It's Azure administrator.
yes. A lot of topics on Azure administration, like your resource groups, your subscriptions, your IAM, identity and access management. All these things will be covered in our course.
Active directories.
No, not deep into Active Directory. We'll talk about, I'll give you an introduction about what's Active Directory and how Azure Active Directory works, but it's more about IAM, identity and access management. How do you give access to other people to certain resources only? How do you define a role? What is the scope and all that stuff? So my opinion is this, folks. From what I've seen from interviewing various candidates that come to the interviews, and myself also giving some interviews, people look. This is a very wild west, in the sense there's a wide area of topics, and some organization has some organization uses some subset of these tools. Some organizations use differently. The DevOps maturity also varies from organization to organizations. Let's say some organizations say they are using Azure, but maybe pretty basic, no automation and no stuff. Okay, so even those people, when they want to hire DevOps folks, they kind of look for someone who has a wide understanding of DevOps concepts. So you might be very good with Azure, but that alone will not fetch a job for you. You might by doing, like, let's say Azure 900 or Azure 400, like we talked about, you might be very good with Azure concepts only, but what about the software configuration? What about the infrastructure as code? Um, what about understanding version control is covered in AZ400, but what about containers? What about Kubernetes? Nowadays people look for, see, right after this course you will not be able to administer Kubernetes, but after understanding Docker images and Docker containers and understanding Kubernetes, if you spend one more month on your self study, okay, or buying some books, you can get to a decent ability on Kubernetes by yourselves, right? So that's the aim of this course, to make you ready for the the DevOps roles by covering a wide area of things rather than focusing on just one area or one or two areas. That's my point. So people will also ask you Linux administration. Definitely, servers are going to move to Linux. Uh, already most of the servers are on Linux, but even those who wants to re-architect their applications, they are going for Linux only. So definitely that's where it will be. And again, it requires a lot of work from each of you to to reach there. Every day you have to spend some time, and even today I cannot relax because there is something or the other that's coming up in the market. I need to learn and understand. So those people in Sri Chaitanya and Narayana lied to us. They told us that after inter everything is fine, you don't have to study. No, it's a big lie. We have to study all through our lives. If you're in knowledge economy, I mean, be it any sector, you have to study.
You are going to show something on the live or just only for this is the discussion session today?
Yeah, that's it. This is the demo. That's about it. So that's why I said I'm up for questions and I'm waiting for any other questions. If not, we are done for the session.
Oh, no, in the DevOps they're using into the containers and Dockers, right?
Yes.
So are you going to cover any session for that also, like complete and the life cycle of that, starting from beginning and give the input and get the output?
No, I did not get the question. We are going to discuss Dockers. I'm going to give you assignments on creating Docker images.
No, Docker image is okay, but integration of that, you told right, Jenkins, then
y- yeah,
CI/CD.
see, we have to go step by step. So first we need to understand how do we even manage our servers using Linux operating system. I mean, servers running Linux operating system. Then we learn about how to create infrastructure automatically using Terraform. Then we learn about software configuration. So then we learn about how to integrate. Let's say when we come to Ansible part, and we have to create some servers for our demo purpose or your practice purpose, you don't do it using Azure portal. Instead you will do Terraform. Okay. And later when you come to Jenkins part, if you have to create your servers, I would say do everything using Ansible now. If you have to install
Oh,
Jenkins on two servers, use Ansible. So incrementally we'll go. So first we learn operating system, then we learn Linux, then we learn cloud, then we learn automation of cloud, then we learn software configuration, and each stage we'll apply knowledge incrementally. So after learning Terraform, whenever you have to create virtual machines, be it for Docker containers or be it for anything else, you will use Terraform. Okay. So once you learn software configuration, you have to install Docker or anything. You will use Ansible playbooks instead of doing them manually from Linux operating system. Okay. So you keep on applying incrementally, and at the end of the course, I'll tell you to create a 3-tier application. Of course we don't have the code with us, we are not developers, right? But you can take a basic web application and start deploying on containers from the scratch. So when I say from the scratch, how do you create the infrastructure? Use Terraform. Okay. How do you install Docker on your machines? Use Ansible. And how do you deploy Docker containers? Use Docker Compose or Kubernetes. Okay. So incrementally we'll keep on increasing. Towards the end of the course, you will get an comprehensive idea of how it can be implemented.
Kiran, this course duration?
It might be anywhere about 8 to 10 weeks. Okay. See, it depends on a lot of factors on how many holidays we are getting, and there might be cases where I might be working late in the night, or I have a call in the early morning. There might some off days here and there. Okay, so about 8 to 10 weeks.
Okay.
Daily
Yeah.
session for 8 to 10 weeks means how many hours is it designed? Kiran, are you able to hear?
Yeah, sorry, what was the question?
How many hours this session is designed? Because you are telling into the there is a specific time on daily basis or weekend
Yeah,
session.
no weekend sessions. Our course will be between 7 to 8:15, but be prepared, it might spill over up to 8:30 or 8:40, because it depends upon the discussion that we have on that day. If there are some questions that coming up, some clarifications needed, we'll definitely extend by 10-15 minutes. So yeah, it would be anywhere between 115 75 minutes to 90 minutes every day.
Okay.
Kiran, no weekend classes?
No weekend classes. Unfortunately, I'm also I'm also in IT industry, so weekends are precious for me as well.
Yeah, definitely.
My family would kill me if I. And yeah, there might be an occasional weekend classes if we run behind schedule. Mostly, I personally would not prefer, and I'm sure you would also not prefer.
Yeah. It's up to you, Kiran. Better if you take Saturday, it's fine. But it's up to your comfortability.
Yeah, so generally I don't prefer, because I want to play some badminton something on weekends in the morning times.
Yeah.
So mornings is when everyone plays. So yeah.
Hi Karan, this is Naveen.
Hey Naveen.
Yeah, actually I need a kind of suggestion from your side. Actually, I'm
Mhm.
working for a startup product-based company as a database developer, and I do have hands-on experience with MySQL and Oracle database.
Mhm.
So I'm looking for a job change. Whether you suggest to learn a new course like Devops with Azure, or you want me to continue on the database development itself.
Uh, so PL SQL is that?
Yeah,
When you
PLSQL, SQL, or MySQL. I do have hands-on experience with all this.
see, definitely, database itself is. I mean, how much experience do you have?
It's around 5 years now.
Yeah, so definitely, database administration itself would not be a niche skill. Definitely, there will be a lot of even you have to adopt to cloud. Even if you want to stick to the database side, also you would need to know a lot about how do you deploy containers. I mean, sorry, database in containers. All this stuff is required. So if you are going to do this course, it's going to be a great career boost for you, because you already have strong foundation on database. Okay, one thing I found, even it's a feedback for myself also, I'm lacking in database administration. So a developer with lot of database knowledge, sorry, a person with DevOps skill set plus database administration would be a great thing for you, definitely. So yeah,
Yeah,
this would be the.
it is the database development, not administration. That means PLSQL
Yeah, yeah.
development.
Yeah, that's what
Mm.
I'm saying. When I say administration, I'm talking about development also will be a great add-on to your, with these
Okay.
kind of skill sets. Yeah, that would
Mm.
see. World is moving towards people Swiss Army knives. There is no scope for specializations alone. A lot of my developer friends also reach out to me and asking for help in things like Docker, Kubernetes, or even AWS. So even developers are expected to learn a lot about all this stuff going forward.
Right. Yeah, thank you.
I don't want to sound like a marketing person, but that's just on the advice person.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
No, actually, the market, what are the demand technologies people may be interested, but again, there is challenge, right? Hands-on is important, right? See,
Hands-on is
nowadays
very,
what
very
is yeah, now the Docker and Kubernetes, everybody is asking EKS, AKS, whatever is there. People are
yes,
thinking,
yes, yes.
okay, I learn this, I will get the job. That is not the easy task.
Exactly, exactly. You made a very, very valid point. Okay. Uh, so I won't say right after this course you will get hundreds of calls. Okay.
Yeah.
But you have to continue practicing. You have to continue improving on this knowledge. You have to read it. Again, I repeat the same thing. The folks in Sri Chaitanya Narayana lied to us. It's a big learning game. Even after you get the first job, even after you join there, every day is a learning. Every day you have to learn and upgrade. Okay. So now let's say you learn very, and also you brought a very, very important point. We might be very good, I mean, you might be wondering, there are at least 10 different topics. I also talked about basics like architecture and all these things. Do I have to be good with all of these? No. Let's say you're very good with on a scale of 10, let's say you're very good with Linux, you're a 7. On cloud, let's say you're 6. And on Ansible and Terraform you're up to 5. You know the basics and you implemented it. Some are bare minimum folks. Some are bare minimum, like your what do you call Linux skill is a must for a DevOps engineer. So is version control. Okay, you need to understand about Git and all that stuff. So if you are a 7 out of 10 on at least 2 to 3 areas, and even if you are 4 on 1 2 areas, that's also fine. You need not be a champion in all the things. No one can be. Okay. Even for me, there's a lot of the new things that I need to learn on, let's say, Ansible. Okay. So we have to be realistic. We have to focus where your interest lies, which one is giving you that goosebumps of learning, and focus on that and enhance it. And others, you should get the basic understanding.
See, you are delving into the Azure, right? Azure, how there is a customer workloads are the Windows. So, are you suggesting Ansible there? No, right? They're using
Uh,
into the Azure platform, PowerShell, and etc. Ansible
okay.
is, I heard about that only AML based and that is work only for the Linux, am I right?
No. That's not true. Ansible can be managed from a Linux machine, but you can use Ansible to manage Windows operating systems. Meaning, if you have, let's say, 20 Windows machines that need to install, let's say, .NET framework. Okay. So you can still use Ansible from a single virtual machine, or even from your own laptop. You can use Ansible and deploy software. So it's not that it only works for Linux. It also works for Windows. But yeah, you need a Linux machine as a control machine, as a central machine.
So that means the Ansible tower.
No. Ansible open source can be used.
Okay. Operators can use. Okay. So because
Yeah.
there is no agent, that's what I'm telling.
Yeah,
That
there's
is
no
my
agent, but
question.
you can use WinRM. See, Ansible has no
Oh,
agent. That is the advantage, in fact. Because if you take Chef or SCM, Microsoft Software Configuration Management, there are two things you have to manage. First, you have to install SCM on each of these machines. But uh, in case of Ansible, you don't have to maintain anything. It uses SSH in case of Linux servers. In case of Windows, it uses WinRM. So that's an
okay.
advantage, not a disadvantage. In fact,
As part of,
Ansible. Go ahead.
go ahead, kid. Go ahead, kid. Sorry.
No, I'm telling the lack of agent is in fact marketed by Ansible as a good feature and not as a negative thing.
As part of course curriculum, are you going to cover Chef Puppet also?
No. As I told you,
Only.
we are Ansible. We are covering Ansible
Yeah.
because,
Okay.
as I told you, if we go on covering, why leave salt stack then? If we cover Ansible
Correct.
and Puppet, why leave salt stack? Why leave SCCM?
Yeah.
So the list goes
Yeah.
on and on.
Okay.
So I'm covering the most popular subjects in the market from my own research and also from what I hear from my friends. And my knowledge base also, of course. I worked a bit on Chef, but not on Puppet or SaltStack. And I worked I used Ansible extensively.
So Ansible, you are using certain level or end to end everything? Infrastructure
No.
deployment, code
Infrastructure
deployment.
deployments mostly done with Terraform only, because honestly, Ansible is good as a software configuration management. For IAC, also it's good, but due to some advantages of Terraform, okay, um, it's a better tool than Ansible for infrastructure provisioning. Okay, so it's mostly used as part of the pipeline to deploy configuration to install software, and also some CD parts. And I'll tell you, last 2.5 years, I've been mostly focused on containers and orchestration. So when it comes to Kubernetes, Ansible, of course, when you're using OpenShift, which is another Red Hat product, you need to use, I mean, there is Ansible playbooks underlying, but when you come to containers and orchestration, Ansible usage will be reduced. Mostly you'll do it through mm, IAS, I mean, Terraform itself will be used to configure Kubernetes. Again, once you understand the concepts, how a playbook is created, how do you use the variables, how do you use the templates, you don't have to worry about whichever modules you want.
Yeah, even Terraform, CFT, ARM all have the standard templates. We should know the syntax.
Correct. Yeah, syntax and the application, like which one would best suit your use case.
Yeah. So what is the difference Git and GitHub?
That takes an half an hour session. Yeah, very simple. Uh, See, Git is your software versioning tool. So you write code every day, you make new changes, and all the changes have to be in have a commit history. Like, okay, what did you change in this version? What did you change in the next version? That's a version control. And GitHub is a central location where you store your code. It's a source code repository. So when you work as a developer individually, let's say there are 4 developers, each of them work on their own laptops, and they install their own version of Git, and they manage their software locally. But to further collaborate, you have to store it in a single location, central location, right? That location is your GitHub, which
Okay,
comes with
so
additional features like
you mean the developer is using the Git and managing the entire modules as a code repository, GitHub.
yeah. See, if you want to track each version of your Git, let's say you're writing documents for a process documentation or something, so and you have to collaborate with 4 other people. They're writing, I mean, let's forget about source code. Okay, they're writing code about something else, right? Not code, they're writing documentation about something else, but these have to be integrated into a single folder. Then what you do, you take Microsoft Word and write the documents on your own machine and save it in versions. Like each version you name it, so that in the future you can refer which version, what change you have made. But when you want to put them all together, you will use Google Drive or something, right? So this GitHub is like your
That is
GitHub
okay.
is like your
SharePoint,
Google Drive.
like your
Yeah,
example,
like SharePoint.
SharePoint, right?
Yeah, like
Forward,
SharePoint.
there are different controls because I modified that will
Yes,
be backend storing into the different file name, but the front end is showing one. If you go to
right.
the what are the options are there, that will be showing. I understood. But here in the with respect to the coding now, the developer one is developed some module, web module.
Hmm,
Developer two is a module for the application in middleware tier, and
hmm,
what the Naveen told the database, right? He did
hmm,
something. Then
hmm.
all their modified things may be putting into the checkout or check-ins, right? Like that in the
Yes, yes,
technical
yes.
word.
Yeah.
So
So
that
when you
that piece is
check in the code, you put it in the,
yeah.
sorry
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt. Yeah,
No,
when
you
you
go
check in
ahead.
the code, you put it in the GitHub. So for a project, you have a repository. Repository is like a folder. Okay. In that repository, you put everything that belongs to that code, and within the same web module might be developed by more than one developer. Okay, some components might be developed by one developer, another component. So we need collaboration space. So all this need to be in a central location so that developers can pull their code and push their code. So every time today I make some changes, so you have to improve on that code. So what you do, you kind of pull my code. So where do I get it from? I cannot ask you to email or send it in a zip file. I have to put it in a central location, which is capable also of a version controlling and all that. That is GitHub, or even Bitbucket, or Azure DevOps, or GitLab. Not Puppet, GitLab.
GitLab, yeah.
These are all source code repositories. These are all again mostly SaaS. You can also have on your own premise, like GitLab. You can manage your own GitLab instances. You need not go for cloud version. GitHub again is on cloud. You don't have to install anything on your local.
Okay.
Kiran, AWS having version control, right?
What do you mean by that?
If we took Azure DevOps itself having their version controlling, like GitHub.
Azure repos,
Okay,
right?
so yeah, so you're talking
So-
about Azure DevOps, right? Yeah, they have their own thing. They call it as Azure Code Commit. Sorry, AWS Code Commit. They have various services for CI/CD. Like they have AWS Code Commit, AWS Code Deploy, AWS Code Pipeline, 4-5 services. Like which Azure DevOps has one. Yeah, which Azure DevOps has one single service, they have divided into 4-5 different services. Yeah. So that's source code. That's source code repository. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, the same like GitHub, where you store your.
Okay. Understand.
Yeah.
Like for version controlling, we took GitHub. For CI/CD, we took Jenkins, like that. Different
Right.
tools provided by AWS itself.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Again, version control is managed
Actually,
on individual machines, folks. That's Git. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I know GitHub, Bitbucket, and Azure Git,
DevOps.
but I never saw AWS one.
Yeah. Wow, this is the longest demo I've ever had, I guess. Very good participation and very good questions. I appreciate. Generally, it's 1 hour 30 minutes or something, but we went about 2 hours. Interesting.
2.5 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours 20 minutes.
2.5.
Yeah. On a Saturday morning, that too.
AWS also coming into the code build and code deploy and code pipelines.
Yes. They have it from quite some time.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm telling. Even when Bharat asked about why not Azure DevOps, every cloud provider will come with their own, CI/CD kind of things. But we just need to understand the overall concepts and how do we deploy. Then you can learn it. I mean, again, I'm repeating the same stuff, but I took Jenkins because you'll understand how to deploy it, how to configure it, how to establish connection with various agents. You can understand what is an agent, how do you configure all these things. In case of Azure DevOps, a lot of this is abstracted away in the sense hidden from our side. It is going behind the screens. Here you can see what's happening. That's the point. So like Bharat has said, we might have to handle a lot of applications in our journey. Sometimes it's Java, sometimes it's PHP, sometimes it's something else. But we don't have to worry about the language. We have to only worry about how the developer. In fact, he will tell how to build that application. But you need to know how to create a pipeline and how to get it working. So don't worry.
Yeah, that's true, Kiran. Actually, Kiran, I implemented Azure DevOps CI/CD pipeline for MuleSoft project. For that, I did R&D for 3 days. Finally, I found how to provide the command for the deployment. So where I stuck, I stuck where how to create the task to deploy the MuleSoft server.
Okay.
So like that, if we took Java application, so what is the task we need to identify to deployment, and same way if we took for the .NET or some other application.
Yes.
So little bit
So
R&D required.
yeah.
And
you work closely with
wise we
developer
can
also.
understand.
Yeah, exactly. So what you need to do is, the CI/CD process is something where this DevOps comes into picture, right? Like the close coordination, because your developer is the person who knows the best which and integration tool is best, in the sense whether you have to use Ant or Gradle or Maven, whatever, if it's a Java application, okay, or if it's a PHP application, whether you have to use Composer or some custom scripts, your developer is the best person to tell you. But what you can do is, if he's using Composer, you have to make sure you have Composer installed on your build agent. Composer is another PHP terminology, okay. Or if it's a .NET application, you have to make sure you have NuGet or whatever it takes to build the application. Again, it's developers and architects call, like how do you want to build it and where do you want to. But where your picture comes is, how do you integrate that as part of your pipeline, and without any manual intervention the build gets completed, and you create the triggers, like how often should you build it. Do you have to build it every let's say every 4 hours, or every day, nightly build, or whatever, or every time a developer commits, do you have to build? All these things your architect and you will discuss, you will implement that.
Yeah, that's true, Kiran. Only our struggle is until unless one pipeline. After that, we can easily
Yes.
manage the remaining things.
Yes. One pipeline with any tool. Later,
Yeah.
you'll understand. Okay, I need to integrate the variables. Just Google it, and I'll tell you one thing, folks. When it comes to documentation, open source tools like Ansible or Jenkins are much better, and you also get a lot of help from communities like Stack Overflow or Reddit. But take this Azure DevOps. Even to find a simple thing, you have to go through 100 documents. Even Azure doesn't have very good documentation. I'll be very honest with you. But take Linux. Any kind of problem, they'll offer you a solution in some of the other forums. Or for that example, even Ansible also has very good documentation. Yeah. Docker also has very good documentation. Kubernetes has very good documentation.
Kiran, one more thing. I just want to learn how to create the agent in Linux machine and Windows machine. So,
Azure DevOps?
For Azure DevOps, yeah.
Yeah, pretty simple. He already gives you a kind of a what do you call a code which will download the agent file for you. It will install. So they made it much easier. Whether it's on Windows or in Linux, all that you need to do is, when you want to add an agent, go to that part, the what is that, projects, not project setting, organization settings, and let me show you. It's a simple it's a very simple command you need to run on your Linux server. But the thing is, you need to understand that there should be connectivity between your Linux machine and your Azure DevOps. So you have to open outbound ports for your Azure DevOps. And also recently we had one issue where yeah, we had to disable HTTP. I mean, we are able to access the Azure DevOps site, but not able to clone it. We had to disable. Yeah, we had to give the proxy address or something, because the build agent was behind a proxy. So the networking part you have to take care. Agent installation is pretty. Yeah, agent installation is pretty simple.
Okay, yeah. Just we need to provision one VM, and by the help of installable file, we can easily install it. Agent, right?
Correct.
That is what
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. And by using organization settings, we can integrate both the things. But only manageable things we need to go with the network.
Right. Yeah. Your Linux server should be able to communicate with your Azure DevOps. So if your Linux agent is in a public subnet which has a public IP, not much effort. But if it's behind a proxy, you have to ensure it has outbound connectivity and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So if I want to add in this, there's a pool. If I want to add an agent, where is this? Yeah, you can take this. Yeah, this gives this command. Okay, go log into your Linux virtual machine, run this command. Maybe there will be sudo permissions required. You'll have to enter the password, and your agent will be added, provided your machine is able to connect to Azure DevOps machine. So you can check dev. It works on 443 port, so you can check on telnet by telnetting. If it's able to telnet dev.azure.com on 443, you're good to go.
Yeah, understand. Yeah.
All right, folks, I'm tired. I have a dry throat. I need to go and eat something. See you all on 14th. Unless you are already very good, please join this course and we'll have fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Kiran. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks,
Given
Kiran.
good information.
You're welcome. Thanks everyone for joining and being so patient.
Actually, you are very
Thanks,
patient.
Kiran. Good day. Yeah.
Thank you everyone. Have a good weekend.
We'll catch up on 14th, Kiran. Yeah,
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.